What is going on, Trash Talkers? We're back with another episode for you. In today's video, we're going to give you our fantasy football starts and sits for week 4 in the NFL. All that and much more coming your way right now! All right, before we get into today's video, be sure to hit that subscribe button and like the video as it will help us out tremendously. So sit back, relax, and enjoy today's video. All right, Nick, week 4 is upon us and we have our fantasy football starts and sits, and we have to get going because we have our 9:30 start in the New Orleans Saints Minnesota Vikings game in London. So Nick, why don't you get us started? Your start quarterback for this weekend.
Yeah, I'm starting Jared Goff against the Seattle Seahawks. Now, Jared Goff has looked a lot better this year than he did last year. He looks very comfortable with those wide receivers. And yes, he's not going to have two of his biggest weapons in Amon-Ra St. Brown and DeAndre Swift, but there's a ton of talent still for him to work with. DJ Chark could really burst onto the scene in this one. He already has that connection with Josh Reynolds. We saw that last year when they traded for him. That rekindled from their Los Angeles days. And we're going to see Jamal Williams really get going in this run game. We've seen him be really active, so I don't have any real scares from Jared Goff and what he'll be able to do against this bad Seattle defense. I think he's going to be able to take advantage of them quite a bit. But my sit quarterback for this week might surprise you. Kyler Murray up against the Carolina Panthers. And this should be a really good matchup, you would think, for Kyler Murray, because the Carolina Panthers have not played very well this season. But you have to look at their defense. That defense has been the reason that they've been competitive in each of their 3 games so far this year. And they got that big one last week against the Saints because of their defense. They were constantly in that backfield. They were getting to the quarterback and putting a ton of pressure on them. And we're going to see the same thing because this Arizona offensive line is not doing their job. Kyler Murray has been scrambling a lot more. He's been getting taken down a lot more behind the line of scrimmage. And I don't see that stopping here. I don't expect him to have a lot of clean looks in this matchup, and that should lead to a bad fantasy performance.
Don't forget, it's also a double XP weekend for Call of Duty, and you know what that means. Kyler Murray will not be great this week. Either way, my start is going to be Russell Wilson, Mr. Unlimited, and I think we're going to see a little bit of that magic coming back. It's not going to be Broncos country, let's ride anymore. He's bringing back some of that Seattle magic that we know to love from Russell Wilson. He is going to be that guy once again. Hooking up with Courtland Sutton against the Las Vegas Raiders is going to be the key for this matchup. The Denver Broncos have not shown any ability to really sustain drives, and with Nathaniel Hackett coming under fire right now, Russell Wilson's going to bail out his head coach once again by doing what he does best. He is going to get this offense right. They are going to get things going against a poor Las Vegas Raiders defense that really has not come onto the scene this year like we expected them to. Chandler Jones has been absolutely awful, and we have not seen him. We have seen that the Las Vegas Raiders actually give up an average of 22.63 points to opposing quarterbacks this year. That is tied for some of the highest in the NFL, and I believe that Russell Wilson will take full advantage. Now, for my sit quarterback, I'm going with a big guy here, Aaron Rodgers. So you're sitting Kyler Murray, I'm sitting Aaron Rodgers, and it's not going to be pretty because even though the Packers are supposed to beat the Patriots by a ton of points, it's not supposed to be a ton of points scored in this game. The fact of the matter is that the New England Patriots defense is one of the stingiest in the NFL outside of last week's debacle with Lamar Jackson. But again, Aaron Rodgers isn't Lamar. He's not going to run all over this defense like we saw the Baltimore Ravens do. The corners have actually done really well for the Patriots. We saw Jonathan Jones being the #1 ranked PFF cornerback so far this season. There is no Sammy Watkins on this offense. That means Allen Lazard will be the wide receiver 1 with Christian Watkins and Romeo Doubs backing him up. I don't like this matchup for Aaron Rodgers. I think that it's just going to be a very low scoring event, and overall I think that the Patriots defense will limit his opportunities. I'm sitting Aaron Rodgers in week 4.
Well, moving over to the running backs, starting with my start of the week, Damian Harris up against the Green Bay Packers. To me, we're going to see this entire offense of the New England Patriots shift its gears from being very pass heavy in the first 3 games to now being very run heavy with Brian Hoyer under center. And we're going to see them take advantage of the bad run defense that the Green Bay Packers have. Damian Harris has looked spectacular so far, but he has just been limited in the number of carries that he's had. And I think that's going to really go up this week. He's going to have even more goal line carries as well. Damian Harris should really look like he did last season. I think that's going to be really good for fantasy owners moving forward. But for my sit running back this week, I'm going with J.K. Dobbins once again. Now, last week I said to sit him against the New England Patriots, and that was the right call. This week, I believe it's the right call again because they are taking on the Buffalo Bills. Now, the Bills defense is a little bit banged up, but J.K. Dobbins is still getting his feet wet. He's still trying to get back into shape, and that's still going to be tough against a Buffalo Bills defense. They are very scary, very strong, and they're going to be tough to run up against. I don't see a lot of opportunities for JK in this matchup, and I will be sitting him for those reasons.
If you have J.K. Dobbins, don't worry, because hopefully you can get this next guy. I am starting Jamal Williams. Nick, you alluded to the fact that DeAndre Swift wasn't going to be playing in this game. Well, Jamal Williams has already looked like a low-end RB1 with DeAndre Swift playing, and now with the backfield all to himself, it looks like he's going to be able to really capitalize on all of the touches he's going to get this week. I'm starting Jamal Williams based on sheer volume alone, but going against Seattle, I know he's going to be able to put up big numbers like we saw from Cordero Patterson last week. Now, for my sit running back, I'm going with Jeff Wilson for the San Francisco 49ers. Going up against the Rams defense is typically something that you want from a running back, but this year it has not been that great, as the Rams have only given up 11.7 points to opposing running backs all season long, and it is not great. When you take a look at San Francisco, they have added help for Jeff Wilson, so he's not going to be the only running back in this backfield. I know people who were banking on Elijah Mitchell picked up Jeff Wilson due to that injury, but there's going to be a running back by committee approach in San Francisco, as we have seen for years through Kyle Shanahan's offense, so I believe that Jeff Wilson will be a sit this week.
Now moving over to wide receivers, I want to take a look at a couple rookies this week, starting with my start receiver, Garrett Wilson, going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now this could be a really scary game for fantasy owners with Garrett Wilson because Zach Wilson is making his season debut. He is going to be working with Garrett Wilson for the first time in a regular season matchup, and there is a lot of unknown there. But what we've seen from Garrett Wilson so far is that he can get incredible separation. He's working well in this offense, and with Zach Wilson's strong arm, I think they're going to be finding each other quite a bit, and I think this is going to be a long-term relationship that they start building right here. I really like the matchup. The secondary for the Pittsburgh Steelers has not been great, so I think this could be a really good game for Garrett Wilson. But now moving over to my sit wide receiver, it's going to be Drake London up against the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns defense has been very strong, and they've been really helping out the offense of the Cleveland Browns. I think that's going to continue here. We've seen Drake London look really good, but he hasn't faced a ton of strong secondaries so far. Now he's facing a defense that includes Denzel Ward, who will be one-on-one with him for the majority of this game. To me, Denzel Ward has the experience, that veteran knowledge that's going to really help out up against a rookie who's still trying to find his way. And then even when you look at the possibility of Drake London getting separation, you got Marcus Mariota throwing him the ball, and with all of those overthrows we've seen to him and Kyle Pitts this year, I can't trust Drake London or any other receiver on this Falcons roster, so I'll be fading Drake London in this matchup.
Staying in the NFC South, I'm going to start Chris Olave. Now, the rookie wide receiver has really come on strong, but that's been with Jameis Winston. No Jameis Winston in this one, as we have Andy Dalton starting, but Chris Olave still leads the team in targets, and he's going to be the security blanket for Andy Dalton this week, especially because there is no Michael Thomas in this matchup. So Olave is going to have the burden on his shoulders to really carry the offense. He's going to have a lot of routes to be able to run and really separate himself from the opposing competition in Minnesota. And don't forget, this is a 9:30 start time, as this game is in London. So be sure to put Chris Olave in your lineup right before this game starts so you don't miss out on what he's going to be able to do for you. For my sit wide receiver, I'm going with Russell Gage from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is is just a guy who really exploded last week because of necessity. Now we have Mike Evans coming back off suspension, not injury, so he's fully healthy, ready to go. On top of that, it looks like Chris Godwin and Julio Jones are going to push to play in this game, which would put Russell Gage as the wide receiver 4 on his own team. I'm not trusting anything that would come his way. I'm going to sit Russell Gage in this one.
And now rounding it out with the tight ends, my start tight end for this week is Irv Smith going up against the New Orleans Saints. Now you like Olave in this London matchup. I like Irv Smith because in these overseas games, we always see someone come out of the blue and have a spectacular fantasy performance. And to me, Irv Smith is going to be that guy. You've got a New Orleans Saints defense that can really stop the run with their linebackers, but there's nobody really there that's going to stop Irv Smith. He's a very athletic tight end, getting more and more involved into the offense, and I think he's really going to come out and shine in this matchup. I have high hopes for Irv Smith in this London game. But now for my sit tight end for the week, George Kittle up against the Los Angeles Rams. Now we saw George Kittle make his season debut last week, and it did not look very good. Now we're going to see him go up against the Los Angeles Rams, who are really starting to click on the defensive side of the ball, and I just don't see that this 49ers offense finds their groove in this divisional matchup. I don't think George Kittle is going to be who he was a couple of years ago right now. I think you're going to have to wait and see what he truly is in this current state. So I'll be fading George Kittle once again.
If you have George Kittle, don't worry, you can pick up this guy. I'm starting David Njoku for the Cleveland Browns against the Atlanta Falcons. David Njoku is second on the Browns in targets. He is only behind Amari Cooper, which makes sense. Jacoby Brissett has Njoku as his security blanket. Last week, looking for him 10 separate times. Njoku was 9 of 10 for 89 yards and a score last week. Expect those looks to continue to go up as he has been extremely efficient. Getting this tight end position involved in the Browns offense is a key for this team, and I expect Njoku to really shine in this game against the Atlanta Falcons. For my sit tight end, I'm going with Logan Thomas, a guy that people were high on because of what he's done in the past. He had a really strong week 2, but in week 3, it was basically non-existent, but then again, the entire Commanders offense was non-existent. In that case, he's just too inconsistent for me. Looking at the depth chart, you got Curtis Samuel, you got Jahan Dobson, you got Scary Terry. He's not going to have the target share that you're looking for. If you can go out and pick up a guy like Njoku, I would highly recommend doing so. All right, well, I want to hear from you guys. Let us know in the comments down below if you have any fantasy questions for week 4. We will be happy to help you. Let us know in the comments down below. All right, well, that's going to be all for now. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell. We go live every single day. That'll be all. Peace and love.